On the face of it, sales seems like the easiest and oldest profession. You have a customer that wants to buy something, has a need, and you have a product that can solve that need. So what could be more difficult? I'll talk to you about what you want to do and I'll offer you my solution. So therefore, managing a sales team is really easy. You just measure me by what I sell. But that's not what it's like anymore. Leading organizations don't just measure success by your achievement of your target. They measure success by your conformance to the sales process. Because it's really important now that you do things the right way, and only by doing them the right way you become successful. So today we're going to explore that into more detail, and it's my pleasure to welcome Ryan Ward. Ryan has got many years' experience of this, so welcome Ryan. Could you share some of your thoughts, please?
Yes, thank you, David. I suppose my experience goes back some 25 years in the software business. Since then, I've been helping enterprise-type companies develop their sales culture, their sales capability, and I've also advised companies such as CloudApps in a non-exec capacity as well. So 25 years has gone by pretty quickly, but it's been very enjoyable.
So across those 25 years, you've seen many of the sales revolutions happen. What would be interesting is let's talk a little about your experience around onboarding of sales staff.
I suppose my experience in this is that onboarding is about making sure we get the right information into the salesperson's hands as quickly as possible for them to be effective, and that's why people put a lot of effort into that. And I think that works well now, and people's onboarding programs are really well developed to ensure they have the productivity that they're looking for.
It's interesting, but you never really talked about the frontline sales manager. There was a lot about the rep and the things you need to do with the rep to make the rep successful. Where does the sales manager fit into this new way of selling?
That's a good question, because I think the frontline sales manager has really evolved in terms of the role that they perform. My earliest sales managers were pretty much running the deals with us alongside and essentially making sure that we weren't doing anything that we shouldn't be doing in terms of helping structure the deal. But on the other hand, now if I look at a sales manager's role, it's about the coaching. It's about making sure that the sales rep has got all of the different attributes laid out in front of a customer, is following a process that the company understands, and is properly positioning the company for success with that customer. So the sales manager has really evolved to a coaching role as opposed to someone who's necessarily running it by a numbers basis.
So let's talk a little bit more about being a coach. What are the different characteristics of being a coach to just be my manager? Perhaps we could use some sporting analogies.
The comparison I might give would be a rugby team. It's quite often when you watch a rugby international, no one person can win a game, can have a massive influence, but it takes the team to get there in terms of being successful. And that's the same with sales now. You need a team in order to be successful with your sales pursuit.
So a rugby manager, a rugby coach is reading this data in real time and analysing the data, seeing where people are on the pitch and making sure they're optimum performance. But yet in a sales team, we still save all of this up for a quarterly review. So do sales coaches need to become more real time in what they're doing?
Yes, I think they do. It's definitely more of a real-time engagement rather than sitting down with someone only once a month and going through their pipeline. Most sales managers I know are going through a pipeline once a week in terms of checking progress on deals, checking where you are with your contacts, your proposals, and helping execute against that. So it's the same kind of process that we're seeing with sports coaches who are regularly training that team on a weekly basis.
So let me just summarise that. A successful frontline sales manager is like a coach, and that means they collect this information in real time. They understand what their reps are doing. They see the cadence of their activity, and they use that to deliver intelligent coaching on a day-by-day, hour-by-hour basis. And that's why they are successful. So what we're saying is, to be successful in sales now, you need three components. You need to have good salespeople that know how to sell. You need to have good processes in place because that's important for the business. And thirdly, you need sales technology to make sure you can scale this.
But today's world, we have far wider sales teams. We have far wider problems to solve, and it takes a much bigger team to be able to do that. And that means that you do need more tools along the way to be able to help you complete that.
So the art of modern selling indeed is more about than just hitting your number. You actually need to deliver those sales results, and you need to work with the technology and follow the process. That's a real good takeaway for people.
I would agree, David. Most of the time now, you can't have a sales rep who's not successful by not deploying all of those pieces. So following the sales cadence has been proven and set out time and time again by the organisation, who's using the technologies that are in front of them. So be it a CRM system through to a reporting system through to a presentation, video, any of those capabilities as well. Then to have the capability to then go on and articulate the value proposition clearly to the customer.
So finally, I'd like to drill a little bit more into the coaching role, because I like your analogy about the sports coach that's monitoring this information in real time. Now, the picture it paints in my mind is they'll be looking at very different sorts of data to what a sales manager will be looking at. So my first sales manager only cared when I'd closed a deal and I'd built a pipeline. Those are what we would call lagging indicators. So what are the different sorts of KPIs that a sales manager needs to be looking at now? What about these leading indicators? What are those and why are they so important?
I think what the sales manager has to do is look at a number of different facets of what a salesperson is being engaged in, be it from activities to engagement with customer to how you handle the internal resources and the internal team as well. And the sales manager really has to help bring all of those together. So you have to monitor in terms of how many opportunities is the sales rep working on. Are they qualifying them to our sales process and our sales cycle? Is the customer a good fit? Are we meeting the customer's needs from an engagement perspective? One of the things I would point back to is that you shouldn't lose sight of the engagement with the customer in terms of the communication on a more regular basis. Something I always remember is a friend of mine once told me, you'll be successful if you do as much, if not more, than your competitors might do in those areas, as long as you're engaging with the customer and you're making them regularly think about it. And I think sales managers have to make sure that the engagement you've got is not from a perspective of almost stalking a customer, but is informing the customer so that they know what your proposition is, you know how keen you are to be successful in terms of your engagement, and that you want to do business together. And that's a very fine balance that sales managers and sales reps have to walk.
So like a sports coach has to think of the whole game from the beginning to the end, the sales manager now needs to think about the whole process, from the very first time you engage with a customer all the way through to the customer starting to use the product or service. They need KPIs that span that whole journey.
I would agree that the KPIs that are important is, where are we in terms of an engagement model with a customer that might be halfway through a pipeline or in early discovery phase through to proposal phase through to essentially when you're writing the proposal and knowing what your competition are doing.
So a key takeaway we have there is that a successful sales manager is a coach, and they coach against KPIs that span the whole process. Thank you for your time, Ryan. That was very interesting.
Thank you very much, David.